Drinkbox Studios, whom also produced the Tales from Space games, has brought us a new action platform game called Guacamelee for the PS3 and PS Vita. Guacamelee is a mixture of different games. It has platforming, it has exploration, more in the vein of Metroidvania, and a combat system that is more akin to a fighting game. With a Mexican folklore aesthetic and nods to different games, Drinkbox Studios did a wonderful job with the world of Guacamelee. Before even getting to know Juan, he gets killed by Carlos Calaca by trying to protect El Presidente's daughter. Juan is given a chance to come back alive only if he tries to stop Carlos. He is then given a Luchador mask, which grants him the power to fight against Carlos and his undead army. And so, Juan sets out on a journey to get back El Presidente's daughter and stop the undead skeleton Carlos and become the hero he always wanted to be. Visually, the game looks great, with its colorful palette and its intriguing looking characters that gives it a storybook look, with a Mexican theme that is prevalent throughout the game, ranging from luchadors to the Day of the Dead, and even posters that are plastered throughout the towns. The game itself holds up pretty good during the more intense fight portions of the game, but I did have a few occasions that the game would freeze for a few seconds. Combat is where I think the game really excels at. It has tight controls, while the combos aren't too hard to pull off. Stringing combos is the main aspect of the combat. Causing enough damage will grant you the ability to grab the enemy, and once you have the hold of the enemy, you're able to either launch them across the screen or at other baddies. When you attempt your first special attack, you can use that as a chain attack to keep your combos going, and when you get more special attacks, you can use them to make some pretty wild combos. What the combo system really reminds me of is from Marvel vs. Capcom, keeping the enemy up in the air while hitting them with flashing moves. Nothing is sweeter than air juggling the enemy in the air, then finishing them with a pile driver to the ground. After finishing off the baddies, you will collect coins from them. Coins are the currency of Guacamelee, and using it at the vendors will upgrade Juan's stats, like increasing his health or spending them on new attacks. Juan may look like a hulking character, but he is actually quite agile. He's able to double jump to get to a higher ground, or even does a ninja wall bounce to get to an even higher plateau. While Juan's special attacks may cause a lot of damage against enemies, you can also use them to cover more ground when jumping from platform to platform. Platforming in Guacamelee is quite smooth, and at times can be a little bit tricky. As you progress through the story, you will eventually come to see some vortexes. What the vortex does is send Juan back and forth between the living world and the dead world. Each world has a certain item that can only be seen in that world, like a platform that might show up in the living world, but in the dead world it isn't there. Also, there's also certain enemies that can be only defeated in each world. When at first glance, Guacamelee may just look like a straightforward platformer, but it does have a Metroidvania feel to it. You have the freedom to pretty much go anywhere you want to, but some areas are closed off until one gets stronger. Usually a lot of the paths that are closed off contains pieces of treasure. Each treasure is usually closed off by doing some tricky platforming and awarding you with a treasure chest for completing it. Each of the chests that you get contains a piece of item to increase your health or stamina. There's also a bit of backtracking in the game, but you do get some help with teleporting to places that you have already been to. Going between the living and dead worlds, this different part of the map will sometimes open up a hidden pathway for treasures, which will also give you an incentive to backtrack to places that you have already been to look for hidden paths. While the game is mostly high tempo, you do also get a bit of downtime with side quests. They are usually placed in towns which you can interact with an NPC to start them. Side quests are usually range from finding mariachi bands so they can jam with each other, to gathering ingredients for an old lady who's making some stew. Guacamelee also has a 2-player co-op, but with the game being on the easier side, the second player doesn't feel needed. With its colorful graphics, tight combat controls, and intense platforming, Guacamelee makes for a great game for anyone to play. One aspect that the game struggles at is that Guacamelee's game time falls a little short, clocking in around 45 hours, but if you were to try and 100% it, you can add about another 2 to 3 hours onto the game. Buying it on the PS3 will also net you the Vita version, which also contains cross-game saves. With a price tag of $14.99, or if you're a PSN Plus member, it's $11.99, you can't go much wrong with the game. Out of 5 points, I am giving Guacamelee for the PS3 and Vita a 4 out of 5.